Ever wonder how some financial services and fintech leaders learned about money when they were kids? Well, we've asked them 4 important questions to get their answers, and you definitely want to hear them. Join me today as we hear from Dana Wilson, CEO and founder at Chip. Hey everyone, Mac Gardner here, author of Motivate Your Money and the global best-selling children's book, The 4 Money Bears. I'm joined today by the one, the only, Dana Wilson, CEO and founder of CHIP, stands for Changing How Individuals Prosper. Dana, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. You call and ask, I am there.
And I thank you. I thank you kindly. And it's the other way around too, Dana. If you call and ask, hey, Mac, we need to talk, I'm there as well. So an honor for you to spend some time. So Dana, for the folks who do not know who you are and your amazing mission, take a little time and share that with us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Dana Wilson. I am the CEO and founder of CHIP back there. So it stands for Changing How Individuals Prosper. And our goal is to just make financial professionals more accessible so that people are able to scale up and build their human capital financial team.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, Dana, you've been on our Teach Kids Money bandwagon for some time. You have supported us in many, many ways. We're going to be launching the 4 Money Bears Berryville game for Financial Literacy Month, and it's going to be...
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
There needs to be like an applause thing that comes
Yeah,
up.
right? A little hand clapping, maybe one of these, something. But we're really excited to launch it, and I think it ties in very nicely with your mission of working to provide more education. Your platform helps to educate big people. We're looking to educate the K through 5 space, but what all this project, this journey has gotten us on, I said, hey, what would be really cool if we could ask industry leaders what their first experiences were when it comes to learning about money. So you ready for the first question?
Absolutely.
All right. So as you think back and you look in your life, Dana, what do you believe, or what were your sort of earliest memories of money education?
Sure. So I grew up in a single parent household. My mom was very adamant about me understanding, money in general, what it could do, what you shouldn't do with it. I think more so it was like, as I got older, it was like, don't get credit cards. Like, manage your debt appropriately. But, this was a time early 80s, early 90s is when I was really, growing up. And I remember, every birthday you are always super excited because you get the cards and there was just all this cash in it.
Oh, yeah.
As much as you're appreciative and yes, thank you, you're just like tearing it open and looking for how much money did I get?
Yep.
And not having the, trying not to have the disappointed look on your face when it's not
as expected.
Exactly. It's not what you expected. But with all of that, I think those were my earliest memories of getting those birthday cards, touching money. I think sometimes there's power in that too. You look at kids now and everything is so digital.
Yeah.
And I think with that digitization of money, there comes this I
say a disconnect.
Yeah, this disconnect of like the realness of it, the understanding of it, the power of it. So I think for me, I'm just happy I grew up in a time where people did have that physical exchange of cash because you really got to see it disappear, right? Like I grew up in northern New Jersey and all we did, at least at that time, growing up in the 90s, we rode bikes everywhere. We went to the local little corner stores to get your candy and your quarter, juices and, that stuff adds up.
Yeah, there was no iPhone. There was no tapping.
Exactly. There was no tapping. It was like, here's the dollar and you get your quarter juice and your, candy.
Yep.
And you had to, manage that effectively. So I think, all of those things really bring that back to, childhood memories.
Which is, it's great. I like how you talk about, I love when we're doing these interviews and the visceral recollection of those actual moments with money and connections with money. But you mentioned something interesting about your mom and her guarding you, not just what to do, but what not to do, which really leads to our second question, Dana, which is, what did money mean in your household growing up? What did it represent in your home?
In my home, I would say money represented freedom and the ability to do things. Like I said, my mom was a single parent. She had a great job. She worked at a like a pharmaceutical company. It doesn't exist now, but large pharmaceutical company, Hoffman LaRoche, which in the time I loved. They always had like events and stuff going on. So it was a great time for me as a kid, and for her as well.
What are we doing today, Mom?
I know. Listen, seriously. But no, it was interesting too, because in that time too, I mean, your parents worked at these companies for years and years. My mother started this company when she was 18. She moved into the northern New Jersey area from the South, and, started there and worked there for 45 years before she retired. And it's like, I think for me watching that journey, now if you're a parent, things are different, right? You're watching your parents move through companies and roles and transition. Maybe it's from corporate to entrepreneurship and all the things. But I think for me, I watch that climb for her in her career, and, just the longevity of it and just the activeness around money and the things that she was able to do, because she did have, always focus on that stability for herself, and then in turn for me. So I think for me, money was very active in what it could do, and then what I saw, and also just her, balancing checkbooks, like that stuff existed during that time, and I would watch as much as I would hear her. But for me, I'm a very active person, so I was always looking at what she did, obviously in addition to what she said, but I think we tend to tune out more of what our parents say, and we're looking more about their actions of what they're doing.
The habits.
The habits, right?
Subliminally taking them in. So now, did you have open conversations with your mom when it comes to money and finances? Was it one of those things? Was it an open dialogue, or?
I mean, we had like some conversations. I can't say it was like a recurring thing that we talked about, even just from nuances of stuff that might have been going on from, higher conversations around investments. It was more so related to like cash flow.
Okay.
And yes, you got all this money from your birthday, but just don't get to spend it anywhere.
What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, who's going to replace that? I'm not replacing that. Once it goes, it's gone.
Like, are you getting a job? Because if you get a job,
exactly. Are you getting a job?
Yeah.
And in fact, I did. I was like, the minute I was able to get my working papers in New Jersey, which was around the age of, I think, 13, 14.
Wow.
I had a job. I was working at the YMCA, and then I did some other stuff throughout the summer. But yeah, I think it was always that understanding of being mindful of the cash that you have and not just overspending. Even though as a kid you do that anyway. Right?
Yeah, you do. And I think one of the things that we're really trying to help promote is that young people do start these habits early, right? Mm-hmm. And for the most part, most young people think their options when it comes to money are twofold: spend and save, and that's it. And what we're really looking to do with the 4 Money Bears, with the Berryville game, is to open up the awareness of young people and sometimes their parents that you actually got you got 4 options. You can spend it, save it, invest it, or give it away. And why? By understanding what those options are early, you can then start to rationalize how to use money and then do a lot different things. Mm-hmm. And put things in motion. And so that really actually leads us to the third question that we have for you is, how do you think we should teach young people about money, Dan?
I think I appreciate the way that I learned about money in the 90s when I was talking about that physical cash versus this digitization, which I think is great that, we've moved to this space. But I do think for, younger kids, and depending on that age, and maybe even older people into adults, there is a power of actually physically seeing the money so that you understand, like, this goes to this thing, or I have, maybe $20 and I'm allocating it. And sometimes visually seeing stuff for kids, the same way we're in school, and if you had a great day, you would get a star, right? I can visually see the star being put there, and I can visually see the star being taken away. Mm-hmm. And it's easier sometimes for kids to adapt their minds to things that they can see versus, I know I have some bank account that my mom set up for me. And
some ethereal thing that's
and here's a card that I'm just swiping, because then as we become adults, right, it's all about the habits that we had for a kid. So as we get to adults and we don't really understand the power of just swiping cards, and this could be a debit card and then you run into overdraft fees, or this could be a credit card that you're just used to swiping because that's all you saw as a kid. You didn't really have the time to prepare your mind to understand that swiping is that physical cash that you touched leaving, coming in, coming out, and doing something. So I think with kids at certain ages, it is nice to be able to say, hey, here is your cash. Here's $50, and let's talk about what that means. And once you break that bill, they tend to disappear quickly, right? It's like, now
I had a 20, but now I've got like 3 or 4 of these fives and singles, and they don't have the same value.
What happened? What happened there? So I think sometimes, as much as we are embracing and love technology, and the evolution of it is necessary, and it's necessary to get kids acclimated to things that they're actually going to be using, right? I feel like I was thinking about this the other day. We spent so much time learning cursive, and I'm like, where is that skill now?
Dodo bird, literally. It's
literally.
Who does it? No one does
it. But it's also one of those things where when it comes to money, you do want to teach at that level of visualization and touch and feel, because that's what they're used to doing as babies, right? We walk around, we touch things. Yeah. That's how we learn. So when we disconnect so far from that, there's this larger disconnection from money, the power of it, and so on and so forth.
And I actually contend, Dana, that now that there's so much more technology that allows you to do things with your money, banking, investing, lending, insurance. I mean, you can do so much stuff digitally on a phone. There's so many apps and fintech being created for that. But there's very little comparatively in the space when it comes to education and educating and teaching people what to do with their money. And so it's almost more of an issue now because it's so much easier, and because there is that disconnection, that we actually need to have more education in people's lives, especially young people's lives. So I agree wholeheartedly with that. All right, last question. Both been in the business for some time. You have an amazing career. You're building platforms to bring more education to people. So here's a loaded question, and it can be more than one thing. What's the best advice you've ever been given when it comes to money, then?
I would say the best advice is, I mean, I think it's so simple. Spend wisely. I feel like that's what the best advice I got was spend wisely. And it's, it can be super broad, but it can also just, go down to just making sense of where your principles are, where your boundaries are. Does it make sense to do this thing? It kind of takes you back to those self check-ins of, I know, this is what I actually make gross. This is what's coming home. So does it make sense for me to do this thing, right? Kind of coming back to that just spend wisely mentality and making, and rebranding it into what makes sense for you. So
it's not what you have, it's what you have left is what.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people who, may or may not be making like 6-figure salaries, but they have a lot of wealth because they've spent wisely and they've made good decisions, versus someone who's, maybe making 6 figures and up, who just were doing stuff, right? And was not spending wisely. So it's like, don't make assumptions about things, people, places, and all this, and all that goes into that.
Amen, sister. Dana, I want to thank you so much. Anything you'd like to share with us and the audience as we wrap up this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, if you're looking for amazing professionals, whether it's advisors, planners, estate planning, individuals, financial coaches we have on our platform, we really want to ensure that people are taking the education that they're learning, especially, from you, and then also applying that in action to talk to people and then get that actionable step done. So definitely come to CHIP, check out those professionals, and make sure you are building your team, because you deserve to have one. Amen
to that. Dana, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you for what you will continue to do for our industry. And as I like to say, the journey continues.
Thank you, and likewise.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you'll join us for our next engaging episode. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and visit www.the4moneybears.com.